Right, let's get the latch lever in place. Just run some molybdenum paste around the rounded tip of that and some through the centre for good measure. Slide that in there. It's a return spring and the shoulder screw that holds it in place. Check that that moves freely, that looks good. Tighten that up. I need to hook the spring back over this side of the lever here. So I'm going to pick it up with my tweezers, lift it up, tuck it behind that lever. That's it. Let's just drop that back in there. So the sprocket shaft next. So we've got our sprocket, slot side goes upwards, just drops into the back of the body of the camera there. The shaft, take some synthetic grease, some towards the top, some towards the bottom where it runs through the casting. A little bit on that gear certainly doesn't hurt. Drop that down, holding it with my finger from underneath. Pull that lever back, allow this to drop into place. You can see that come through there. There's a small screw that drives the sprocket from the sprocket shaft. If I can get that thing to stand up for me. It doesn't want to stir. Sometimes it'll start easier on one side of that shaft than the other, so I'm going to rotate that 180 degrees. Might be a better lead in on this side for that thread. It doesn't want to start. No. I don't know whether the end of the thread on that screw's burred over slightly or not. There's certainly something going on there. It looks okay. Try another screwdriver. That one doesn't seem to fit that particularly well. The screw slot's particularly narrow. I'll find a different screwdriver. I think it's just sliding off my screwdriver too easily. What else have I got? That one might be better. That was it. Just a poor fit of screwdriver. It was throwing the screw off each time, so it wasn't staying where it was put. Okay, that's good. The rewind button can go on the base. Here's my rewind button. I put some synthetic grease through the spring. Put that on the rewind button. Put the washer on the rewind button, holding my finger on the shaft at the top. Screw that into place at the bottom. Check that it passes through the washer, doesn't get caught on the washer. That's good, that's moving nicely. I'll just tighten this up. That's our rewind button all back in place. And assembling the rest of the film advance, well, retinettes can be a bit awkward. I think I'll try this. What I'm going to do is I'll hold back that lever, give this a full rotation, 360 degrees, to pre-tension that film advance lever so that the rewind, so it'll return to the rest position smoothly. Will it stay there? No. I really want somewhere to hold that. I hold that from the top. I want to get the film advance lever on here without too much of a fight. I'll try something else. Put my base plate on. I think I can tension that with the base plate in place. Checking the position of everything. Where's my rest position? Now, I can't see well enough to do this. I would have rather had that film advance lever all in place before I do much else. So we're going to need one full turn from that point. Let's pop that on the top. It'll give me something to hold on to. Right, let's try again. To get that one full turn, tension. Can I hold it from the underside? I can, so I've got a grip on that from underneath. Get my lever on there. Once I've got the lever on, that can't unwind. So it means that that tension will stay. That's not the right screw. And that screw there in the case, I can put that back in the trim rather, I can put back later. It's awkward to get the film advance connected at the top with a retinette. And I haven't got the centre section in here yet. I want to put that all in at one go really, because there's a piece that's inclined to fall out of position and I'd have to remove the whole front again to put it back. To get these trim screws in place. Okay, we have our one trim screw there, and of course one more for the film advance lever, but two will hold that nicely. Just checking that there's enough tension on that. That moves nicely. Okay. So the front section can be put together next. I'll just gather the pieces together. First we have this baffle. There's a notch here and a notch here. It only goes into the casting one way. This piece. This is sort of like a cocking rack for all practical purposes. I'm going to apply some synthetic grease to that. And that's going to run in the slot right here. Now I'll put this into the body. And this piece is prone to falling out. That's why I want to get everything in here all at one time, really. Why is that not moving? That's better. Okay, this front housing is held in with a small number of screws. Two at the base. one right here. I'll swap this one because that should have a stained one came from there. It's the same size, but we'll keep the pretty one for the top where it's visible. Well, it won't really be visible. Okay, so those two screws are tight. These two screws are tight. That piece is in place. Oh, look, it's tipping out. Come back where I can see you. That's better. Okay, that part is ready to go. Just looking to see whether I need to put my levers in yet. No, I don't really. At the top, I can assemble the film advance. So I can undo that screw again, take that piece off, and we can assemble the film advance. First the gear goes on, so I'm just going to put some synthetic grease on the underside of the edge of that and through the centre. If I rotate that anti-clockwise, that should just push the pawl aside. That's looking good. We have this spring. This piece, that drive dog we had there earlier, a washer, then we have this piece. This has got the coupling to go into here. So we'll get that coupling in place. And from memory it goes this way, I think. That looks right. Put the screw in position. I'll reach across and get that screwdriver. Problem with screwdrivers that have become magnetised is that they lift screws up when you don't want them to. That, I think, is it. Let's see if I've got that right. I could be 180 degrees out. I'm out. It doesn't complete. I've obviously got that the wrong way around. Okay. Obviously don't do enough retinettes. Just rotate this back where I want it. Lever doesn't want to swing around. What's wrong with that? That's better. Right, so which way does this thing go? It goes that way. Is that right? I think it goes this way. That's it. Let's check that that screws tight. That's great. That's moving exactly as it should be. Alright, from here, I want to put our levers in at the front here. Here we have two levers. I'm just going to apply a bit of synthetic grease to the shaft on that one. That's our shutter release. That sits in the body down in here. I'm just going to position that into its hole. And the other one is the cocking shaft. Of course, that's got a gear on the end of it, a little pinion, and the shaft there. We'll get that in place. Now, from memory, the flat side of the D goes upwards in the rest position. And if I'm one tooth out, well, I'll have to come and alter this later. Here we are, that's sitting nicely. The plate that retains those two shafts is here. I'll just run a bit of synthetic grease around the inside of both of those areas where it holds those shafts in place. Drop that down over those two shafts, and then there are two screws that hold that plate in position. After that, nothing can fall out. That's where our flash wire connects. Okay, well that is basically, the top could just about go back on the camera at this stage. I'm just clearing off all my greasy fingerprints and so forth from there. I'm going to put a touch of lacquer on this screw here to lock that in position, because that's always a handy thing to do. It just makes sure that that screw can't work its way loose. That'll do nicely. I don't know whether it's worth putting the top cover on directly at this point, because I probably need to come through and adjust the position of that screw, which is our adjustment for the release of the film advance lever. So So I'll do that later. But now I've got this sitting here and that can't go away any further. That means I can take this lever off, put the last screw in the base plate, and I can put the leatherette back on the base of the camera. It's trying to get away on me, but I think I can tell you I can. That's alright, it can't really get away now. I've got the measure of that. I'll put the leatherette on the base and close up the bottom of the camera completely. It's all ready to go there now for the leatherette. So I'll just apply some adhesive to this. I was just looking at that hole, but of course that would be where the hinge pin screw would go if it had been a Retina 3C type camera. And of course it's not. Now one of my tubes of adhesive is runnier than the other, and that's the one I'm looking for. Here it is. Just apply some to the leatherette. And then manipulate that around with a toothpick to get it spread out evenly. Always apply your adhesive to the leatherette, not the camera. And there shouldn't be so much on there's big runny puddles of this stuff. Because what will happen is if you've got big runny puddles of adhesive, when you go to put them on the camera, they'll inevitably run down into the mechanism and stick something that should not have been stuck. And it is something you see, you don't see it very often, but it's certainly something you can see from time to time where people have done a bad job with their leatherettes. I mean, the usual problem with leatherettes that people are going to have trouble would probably be using the wrong sort of adhesive so that the leatherettes become damaged. That would be a fairly common issue. Leatherettes on the back or front of the camera, where they are reversible, sometimes people will put them on upside down, and that's something that you'll see from time to time. The worst case of problems with leatherette that I can remember seeing was where someone had put the leatherettes on inside out. So they put glue on the finished surface, and that of course damaged the finished surface, and you're just seeing the inside after that. Right, well, I'll get just holding that back while I get this lever in place. Just check that moves. That does. I've got everything round the right way. Get the 3 screws in here. Yeah, so that's certainly one thing I've seen before, is leatherettes that have been, the glue had been put on the wrong surface. You gotta wonder how some people's heads work. Okay, that's good. I think that back catch cover and so forth can go on there, and the patch on that advance lever. I'll get that patch on the advance lever first, because that's the last of the adhesive work I need to do, I think. Now these do have a grain to them. I'll see if I can match up the grain on the base of the camera with the grain on this piece. That'll do nicely. That looks good. And where is our back catch cover? The 2 screws and its return spring. These are always entertaining to assemble. It gets easier with practice. The spring is somewhat misshapen. A bit odd because I don't believe it's been off the camera before. Okay, so I've got that all seated in position. The screw, the spring, both pieces. Get that over the tripod socket. Run the screw in lightly. Check that the lever moves freely. It does. Run the other screw in. Tighten the 2 screws up. That's that done. So we're done with the base of the camera, which is good. Film Advanced is all nice and smooth in its action. Leatherettes are all good, all in place. Front of the camera is all there. Basically it just needs the shutter release, the film release button back in here, and the top cover put on. But I'll do that after I've serviced the shutter.